Hello artists, welcome to your clay mobile class. In front of you, you should have your slab of clay. Underneath it, place your wax paper, and underneath that, your plate. This will be an easy way to carry off your art project a little bit later on. In addition, you have another paper plate and a piece of twine, a cup of water, a paper towel, a large brush, a small brush, a pencil or colored pencil. We'll use that to carve later. For your colors, your terracotta orange, your mustardy yellow, your tan, and then your white. The first thing we're going to do for our class is grab our piece of clay and use our cupped hands almost like a C in a backwards C, and just kind of go back and forth and get this slab of clay into a nice sphere shape, so a nice round shape. Just going to go back and forth almost like a baseball and get all those air bubbles out. We'll do this for about 30 seconds. Be sure to use that C, backward C formation with your hands and kind of go back and forth like a baseball. Perfect. Our mobile is going to have four little ornaments that we're going to hang it up from. You have to be aware of your twine size, so you never want to have too big of the clay pieces, and make sure that all four will make a nice fit on them. I'll show you that in just a moment. So the first thing we're going to do is look at our round shape. Once we've kind of gotten it into that nice kind of baseball form, you're going to look at your shape and you're going to split it into four the best that you can. So almost like a 25, 25, 25, and 25. I'm going to just use my nail. 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to make 3 lines to get the 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of the clay, and that'll kind of be a good, nice guide. And then again, this one's in the middle. You can start with that one. Just kind of do one off to the right and one to the left. But I'm splitting my clay piece into 4 even pieces. Put the first one aside. The second one off to the side. The third one off to the side. So I have my 1, 2, 3 pieces. I'm going to keep them nice and separate over off to the side, and now I'm going to start working with my 4th piece of clay. This clay piece is going to be in a shape of a rainbow. We're going to make 4 coil pieces, which are going to be those round kind of shapes that you see whenever you use clay to make pots or vases a lot. So we're going to pretty much divide this into 4 pieces, and again, you can kind of cut in half, and then 1 line to the side and 1 line to the left side. So you have 4 coils, 2, that you're going to form out of these. And again, those will be your 4 kind of round shapes, and you'll bend them to make them look like a rainbow. I had a little bit of extra. This one was a little bit bigger than the rest, so I'm going to make sure those 4 pieces are pretty even. So I'll put this extra off to the side. So I'm going to take one of the pieces, and again, I'm going to make it into a round coil shape. So you can use your hands and just kind of go back and forth like this, or you can use a table if allowed and just kind of roll it out like so. And compared to my smaller brush, it's about the same size. So you want to make sure that each coil is about the length of your smaller brush. I'm going to put this one off to the side. Grab another piece. Again, just kind of roll up and back and forth like this. Or if you can roll it on the table, back and forth like so. Again, you want to make sure it's that same length. The other one, move this plate so you kind of be a little bit more centered. And you want it to be pretty even all the way across. You don't want to have a thinner area and then a really thick area. So if you have a thicker area, just kind of go on top of it and spread it out by pushing out a little bit more. Let's compare. Maybe take off that much. And those are pretty similar in size, maybe a little bit thicker on this one, which is fine. Can kind of roll this one out a little bit more to kind of make it a little bit thinner, and then tear off that extra piece. So there's two. I put it off to the side as well. I'm gonna grab another piece off of my plate. This will be my third. Again, you can use the table if allowed to kind of go back and forth. Sorry about my shaky table. You don't want to have any area too thin to where it feels like it's going to break. You can bring this back a little bit further out. Pretty similar in size. I need one more because I need 4 coiled pieces. So 4 of those round kind of snake shape. You can use one hand and just roll back and forth. You can use 2, and in a moment I'll just kind of size them up with one of the ones off to the side. Pretty similar in size. Maybe I can just kind of take a chunk off of the extra over here. Just roll that piece in. If it's really bumpy, you can always use a little bit of water on your pointy finger and smooth any areas out if you need to. But we'll go in there and smooth it out once we get our rainbow shape. So we have those 4 pieces. I'm going to put them onto my plate again so it doesn't stick to the table. So on the wax paper, I'm going to place 1, 2, 3, and 4 of those pieces. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to attach the 4. So I'm going to place that one underneath, attach it, place that one above it, and attach it. And be sure the ends are pretty similar. This one might be a little bit longer, but it's okay. And then the 4th one. I'm going to just push down on all of these together, just kind of squinch down on them. And in the middle area, I'm going to push up a little bit more. I might have to lift it up from my plate, but I'm going to push up, just kind of curve around and bring in the right side. And then same on the left. Just kind of bring it over to make that rainbow shape. So just kind of bringing down the sides. And you do want them to be pretty vertical. You don't want them to be too far out. And if you have time, don't feel comfortable with the shape or some of your coils, you can do it really quick and just kind of bring it back together. But with time allowing, just be sure that you have your 4 coil pieces, you push them together, and you bring the right side down and the left side down. And be sure it's on your wax paper, like so. Once you're done, you are going to use your colored pencil or your pencil, it doesn't matter which one you have, to cut off any excess. So you can use the lead or just kind of use the strength of your pencil to get a nice even cut on the left side and on the right side. So have a nice cut on the bottom, like so. Once you have that shape of your rainbow down, you can use your finger, smooth it out. Not too much because you still want to see all those 4 little sections of your coil. And add some water to the bottom area, get it nice and smooth. And this is going to be the bottom part of your mobile. So the only hole that I'll need is the right over here between the 2nd and 3rd one. And I'll show you how to make a hole on that one. Again, it'll be your on the bottom of your mobile. So it needs only 1 hole on the top. And all I'm going to do for the hole is use the back of my colored pencil or my pencil, whichever one you have. After the 2nd one, maybe right directly on the 3rd one, you want to kind of push down and go all the way through. Be very careful and create that hole on your mobile. And that'll kind of be held in with that twine later on. Be sure all sides are nice and smooth, like so. And you can also use your colored pencil, your pencil, to kind of carve between each coral if you want to kind of clean it up a little bit. Be sure to just kind of clean off any extra clay whenever you're cleaning up, like so. So you want a nice clean shape. Use your pencil, use your finger to get it nice and smooth. You don't want to see any bumps on there. It should be nice and smooth, and use your hand to kind of get it into a nice rainbow shape. Then you want to put this piece off to the side. So I'm just going to put it on my table, kind of off to the side, somewhere where it won't get any clay or anything else on it. The next thing I'm going to do is going to grab another piece of clay, one of the ones we kind of chopped up into the 4 at the very beginning. And I'm going to use, actually let's go ahead and get this into a nice round piece again really quick. I'm going to make like a pancake shape where I'm going to start with a nice round shape, kind of going back and forth. Nice cupped hands. And then I'm going to flatten it out like a pancake. And then I'm going to use my my pencil to carve. So I'm going to kind of go in there and get into a nice round shape. Push down on it. And you don't want it to be too big. Compared to my rainbow shape, I definitely want it to be smaller than my rainbow shape. So make a small cut into there in just a moment. And again, I do want to be aware to make sure I have enough room for the 4 clay pieces later on. So be sure that all 4 are going to fit. Oops, I have a knot in there. I'm going to use my pencil to kind of cut out any extra. Going to hold it and go all the way around with it. If your piece of clay is already nice and round, you don't have to cut your piece. You can use your hand again to kind of form it a little bit better. Use my finger to get it nice and smooth. I think this might be too heavy, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it a little bit thinner by pushing it out just a little bit more. I think I'm going to kind of go in there and make it just a little bit smaller so it doesn't weigh down my mobile too much. So about the same size, just a little bit thinner. Use my palm to kind of push down, because you definitely don't want to weigh down your mobile and it not hang well. Maybe more a thin pancake. Maybe use my pencil. Oh, excuse me. Can I cut it a little bit better? Go all the way around. So you have a nice circular shape. Again, use your hands, use the water to smooth it out. But nice, cool round shape. And I'm going to pierce 2 holes, one on the top, one on the bottom. I can use the back of my pencil again. Come down a good amount so it's not too close to the side, so you don't want it to be weak. You want it to have a good amount to hold off of. Any extra you can kind of just pull off. And then same on the bottom, you want to have a good amount, and then kind of go in and pierce a hole. You can turn that pencil a little bit, go all the way through. If your shape kind of fell apart, that means that you need to make your round shape a little bit thicker. Always go back and smooth it out. Smooth out the holes a little bit, but make sure everything looks nice and neat. No bumps. I think I get a little bit of a brush hair in there. I'm gonna get that out. Did I get it? Oh, okay. Look at the back. Make sure the back is pretty clean too. There's another brush hair. There we go. All right. Put it off the side. Then I have 2 more pieces left. And I do want to make sure these 2 pieces that I'm going to make are smaller than this one. So I'm going to make 2 smaller circles, one with each piece that I have left. So I have my circular piece and my rainbow piece. And then each one of these will create a small circle. So I'm going to put one off to the side, get into that nice round ball shape again, flatten it out like a pancake. Push down with my palm. And I do want to make sure it's smaller than the other round piece, but not too small to where when I pierce a hole, there's not enough space to create with in the center. So again, like a thin pancake, you can use your fingers to get it nice and smooth. Like so. Make sure you have a nice, clean pencil. I compared the size and make sure you go a little bit smaller, maybe something about this big. So you definitely want it to be smaller. You can use your colored pencil or your pencil to cut off that excess. I put off all that extra clay to the side. Use your pointy finger in the water to kind of smooth it out. You can use your palm, kind of bring it in a little bit. So I have this, and like, again, compared to this one, it's definitely smaller. And I'll use this as a reference for my other piece of clay, so I want them to be the same size. So I'm going to use the back of my pencil. Again, be sure it's nice and clean. Leave a good amount between the top and the bottom. Pierce through. And again, maybe line up all 3 pieces. Make sure, oops, let's put this down. You have enough twine to kind of carry all the way through, which this is perfect. I have enough twine. So I'm gonna make 1 more of these pieces. Put the rainbow aside. So my last piece, I wanna make pretty similar size to this one. If you want, you could go even smaller. So it's up to you. You want to keep that same size, or if you want to go from small, medium to large. I'll go with just maybe a little bit smaller, but I'm going to use as a reference size. But again, it's up to you. You can do the same size again. Get it into a nice round ball. You can even roll it a little bit too. Cup it back and forth. On your wax paper, and this is that fourth piece that we have not used yet. Make it into a nice thin pancake. Ooh, excuse me. Make sure it's, use another piece of, might double up. There we go, much better. So I'm gonna kind of compare the size, maybe go a little bit smaller. But again, that's up to you if you want the same or maybe a little bit smaller. So that's a good size, I think. Use my pencil as a carving tool. Tear off all that extra. Put it off to the side. Use my finger to kind of smooth it out. It kind of looks thick, so I might push down on it just a little bit more, get it a little bit thinner, so it's not too heavy. Nice and smooth. Get those sides nice and smooth. Back of it. Again, this is mine compared to the other one. I don't want to make it too small. I want to make sure I have room for the holes. And again, I can use my colored pencil. Make sure the back of it is nice and clean. I'm going to put 2 holes, so one coming in a little bit, and one coming up a little bit. I'm going to pierce a little bit more on that one. So with all of them lined up, excuse my art table, you have your rainbow, then you have your larger piece, and the twine's going to go through there. This down. And then you have your previous piece, and then the one that I just made. Sorry, let me scoot this down. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, those dots are going to be vertical because the twine's going to kind of go through them and then come back out. And we are going to be painting each piece one at a time. These off to the side. I'm going to start with my rainbow piece because it's kind of dried out the most. It's not going to be too wet. So I'm going to take this piece right here. I'll start with my rainbow piece. And again, we are going to be mixing colors. So if you wanted to grab that piece from the side, or the piece of paper, the paper plate, excuse me, and use it to mix your colors. All right, I'm going to start with a clean, large brush. And I'm going to dry it off a little bit. I'm going to get a scoop of tan. And I'm going to clean it off. I'm going to take a scoop of white. Oh, let me make sure you guys can see that a little bit better. So a scoop of tan, and then clean my brush, and a scoop of white. Sorry about that. So I'll kind of pile one on top of the other. I cleaned my brush in the water so I didn't get my white dirty. I'm gonna make kind of like a nice light tan. If you want it to be darker, you can go back and add more brown. But I'm gonna use that as this bottom area of my rainbow. So this will be that bottom coil. Do your best to kind of stay on this coil, but if you get some on the next one, it's okay. You'll paint over in just a moment. And kind of get that inside area too. And I would do 2 coats. That means you're gonna paint it once and let it dry, and then give it a nice second coat after a minute. So paint it, let it dry for a minute, then go back. My mix. Gonna always go back for more, make more. This is just a brown and white mix. It's like a light khaki mix. And all these tones are very earthy, so you'll see those yellows, browns, the burnt orange. Again, give it a minute to dry and then go back and give it a second coat. You can kind of move on to another color if you're wanting to give it some time to dry. Or you can just wait patiently, it's up to you. The next thing I'm gonna paint is, I'm gonna kind of leave a little bit of room so this doesn't get kind of touched with the previous color. But the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into this burnt orange, and it'll be by itself. I'm gonna skip that second coil and then just kind of paint the one from the second down. I'm gonna curve it over on the bottom too. And I'm using my big brush again. If you get some on the other one, you can just kind of wipe it off. It's okay because you'll be painting over it in just a moment. And then kind of off to the bottom. So, and again, I would do 2 coats of this burnt orange too. So paint it, let it dry, and do a nice second coat. I'm gonna go back and give this one a second coat. I'll go back and give that terracotta a second coat too. I don't want too much water on my brush, so I just kind of pat it off on the paper towel. So my paint's not too watery. It sticks a little bit better to the clay. Be sure your terracotta is nice and dry and you have a nice clean big brush, but you're going to go into your white next and paint this top part. As you can see, my brush was not clean enough. I'm going to go back and really clean it off. I'd probably wrap it around with my paper towels and all that white off. And that top layer, again, be sure that your terracotta is nice and dry. Give it a couple minutes when it's not so shiny. And this top coil, all the way around to the top, is going to be white. Again, if you want to do 2 coats of it, you can. It'll white out any terracotta that's kind of carrying over to that top coil. wash and wrap my brush with my paper towel, get all that nice and clean. Back to that terracotta and just kind of clean it up a little bit. But be very aware if a wet color touches another wet color, it's going to mix and blend. So sometimes you just have to wait for your paint to dry before you go on to a color on top of it or next to it. Once you're done with your light brown, your terracotta, and your white, again, be sure these two are, not too wet, but this second one from the bottom is going to be that really pretty mustardy yellow. You're going to do your best to kind of stay in that area. And again, give it 2 coats. Don't forget about the area where it kind of curves over on the bottom. Kind of got onto the terracotta, but I'll touch that up as well. So you have light brown, mustardy yellow, terracotta. Be sure your paint looks nice and smooth. You can use your small brush to kind of get into those smaller little areas if you need to. If you wanted to use your small brush, you can. Kind of create those smaller details. I'm going to go back and I'll give my yellow another coat in just a moment. And surely you can go back and do it at the end too if you feel like your paint is just too wet at the end before we're complete with our painting. You can go back and do any touch-ups you'd like. So I'll just kind of put this to the side, but those are the colors that I have used for my rainbow. Might use my smaller one to kind of get into that small area. It's having a hard time moving. Not too much paint on my brush, just a little bit. Yeah, just too wet, so I'm going to go back at the end and kind of touch it up. I'm going to very carefully lift up this rainbow shape and put it off to the side. So I have my little shape off to the side. I'm going to grab the largest circle, the one that I kind of started with for my circles. And again, you're going to make sure that the hole's on the top and the bottom. If you're still working on your other clay piece, that's totally fine. But I'm going to show you what the next shape is going to look like. Next shape, make sure my brushes are nice and washed and dried. Both of them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create 3 sections with my small brush. I'm going to dip into that brownish red, that terracotta color, and I'm going to make kind of like a U shape, but not past the middle. So you can make a dot in the middle with your small brush and your terracotta, and a U shape like this. Wash and dry your brush. It's my small brush again. And then with my white paint, I'm going to do the same thing, but now it's going to be more of like a rainbow curve. It's my small brush, my white paint, like so. So this is the U shape with my terracotta. This is kind of the rainbow shape. Kind of looks like a bow tie in the middle. Then once you're done, you can use your big brush. Just to the other side. And paint this half with your terracotta. I would probably do 2 coats. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Go around on the edges and everything nice and smooth. Again, 2 coats if you like. Really clean brush, so if you wanted to wrap it around, turn it the other way. You're gonna do your white. So terracotta and then white. Paint it all in. You can always clean up your sides, go like that, make that shape again, and then again, if you wanted to 2 coats, give it a minute to dry, and then go back so it's a little bit more solid. You don't see as much of that gray background in that second coat. This area is going to be kind of tricky. This is going to be a mix of your terracotta and your white. So I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to take a scoop of the white, wash and dry my brush, and a scoop of that terracotta. And I'm going to mix the two and just kind of make like a pinkishy. I think I might have grabbed some yellow, sorry about that. But I definitely want it to be kind of a really light, kind of pink color almost. Go back for more white. So this is your terracotta. Now I did 2 scoops of white. I went back and grabbed some more. So it's a nice kind of light pink color. And that was 2 scoops of white and 1 scoop of that orangey terracotta color. I'm going to use my small brush again to kind of outline these triangle shapes. And if your terracotta and your white are still wet, maybe give them another minute or 2. So small brush. This will kind of clean up the sides of that one. Carry it over to the sides. Same on this side. And then you can use your bigger brush to kind of fill it in. That color combination is so pretty. Make sure that the sides are painted, and again, you can do 2 coats. Make sure you're also painting the sides so they're not exposed with the gray from the clay. Go back and touch up this a little bit more. So there's that second piece. And then you can very gently, maybe after a minute, kind of put that one off to the side. Really cute. And again, I would probably go back, do another coat. If it's really painty here, you can always kind of keep folding your wax paper and maybe later on do the other side so you don't get paint from the previous little clay piece. And then once you're done with your rainbow, show you that again. Once you're done with your rainbow, again, I would go back and probably give those another coat. Once you're done with your second piece, again, then you're going to go on to that next piece, which was, with mine, it was larger than the other one, so I'm going to put that smaller one aside. But if they're the same, you can just kind of grab either one. The holes are going to be up and down like so. I'll go ahead and paint inside that one. Be sure your brushes are really washed. So for this one, I am going to use this small brush. And this really pretty pink that we used earlier. I'm going to make a circle in the middle. Comes out to the left and to the right. Don't paint inside of it. Just use your small brush and that pink paint. It goes between the two circles. You have that C, backward C shape. Put your small brush aside. Be sure you have a really clean big brush. And all of the outside of this circle shape, I'm going to use to paint that nice pink. And you can make some more if you like, if you need to make more of your mix. I think we did 2 scoops of white, 1 scoop of the terracotta. I might need to make more myself. I'd probably do 2 coats of this outside area. Kind of going on the outside of it like rays of sun. Just kind of going out from the circle all the way around. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Don't forget the sides. I would again do 2 coats of this. You can wash and dry your brush. And once you are done, you can use your small brush and your terracotta, your orangish brown paint. Be sure the pink has had a minute or 2 to dry. But you're going to outline the shape, maybe come on the inside a little bit more. So the terracotta, outline the shape. And you can use your big brush or your small one, whichever one is kind of working best for you to kind of fill it in with that terracotta shape. But you want to do your best to stay inside that circle. If you need to outline the shape again once you're done filling it in, you can. Make sure all that paint is nice and smooth. In just a moment, I'm going to make sure that pink is, dry for a couple minutes. I'm going to really clean off my small brush, but I'll start putting white sun rays all the way around. So it's the pink on the outside, the terracotta orange on the inside, and then I will be putting some white kind of rays around the shape. So a little bit of white, maybe pat some off. It's kind of going out. You can turn your plate if it's easier. Leave a good amount of space between each one. Even go on the outside. All you're making are some white sun rays all the way around with a good amount of space between each one. And I'm going to go back between each one and make just kind of like a shorter line. Between each of the longer ones, I'll go in there and make like a little mini one. Oh, this one's kind of tricky. Maybe I'll skip that one. So it was a long white line and then a short white line between each one. I got a little bit into that sun space. I'm just gonna kind of move it up like so. And again, if you wanted to go back and touch anything up, you can. Make sure everything looks nice and clean. I would probably go back and give that white a second coat after a moment. Then you're welcome to put this one off to the side and give it some drying time. And we have our last piece. Again, be sure your brushes are nice and clean. And my last piece is going to be a moon and a circle. So I'm going to use my small brush and get into my mustardy yellow. And on the right side, I'm going to make kind of like a backward C shape. Ooh, too much water on my brush. Okay. Or like a banana shape. Go ahead and fill it in. And come out a little bit out from that side, not from that side. Probably give my yellow another coat, but I want it to just kind of be coming off from the sides a little bit too. It kind of has that moon shape. Again, give it some time to dry, especially this yellow seems a little bit thin, so have my moon shape kind of piercing through the holes a little bit. And again, if you wanted to go back and give it a second coat, you can. And then I'm going to go in there with a nice, really clean small brush, make a white circle over kind of to the left of it. Maybe like right here. And again, I would probably go in there and make another, or give it another coat. And then I'm going to mix myself some more of that light khaki, and that'll be all the space around it. So a nice clean brush. Do a scoop of brown. Scoop of white. Maybe give your moon and your circle shape can be like a star or just a fun circle shape. You can even use your small brush to kind of outline around those two shapes with your light khaki color, with your light brown color. So you know where that khaki stops. You can kind of get into those smaller areas too. Goes around this way as well. Then you can use your bigger brush to kind of get into those outer areas a bit easier. Again, you can always go back and touch things up. But pretty much you have a light brown background. You have a white circle, and then you have your mustardy yellow moon. And once you're done with this shape, you can always go back to your rainbow shape and clean it up. I'll show you my cleaned up version in just a moment.